Hello, my name is Emily, as you may or may not know, and today we are going to be talking about hookup culture. I actually made a video about this years and years and years ago, and upon watching it, it's really interesting. The video is not that good, and I seem depressed. It's a lovely pattern that I tend to see in a lot of my older videos. There's seemingly a lack of skill and serotonin, which is awesome. But other than that, I thought I would revisit the topic with a new lens since I am older, wiser, have a little more life experience, and I have more to say. First, I want to start with a little bit of a research section, and then we'll move into a more casual observational section. So, hookup culture really just refers to how casual sex has evolved through a modern lens, but when did we start asserting that sex could be casual? It goes without saying that the structures of romantic relationships, marriage, virginity, purity, all of these things are newer concepts than the idea of sex itself. I mean, people in prehistoric times were having sex. There were cavemen who were banging on their chests, bang, bang, caveman. And I'm not so sure that they were thinking of sex as casual or not casual, mostly due to the language barrier. Maybe they would be thinking of it as ooga or booga. The idea that sex could be casual is a response to a society that deems it inherently sacred, at least for women. It's only something you do if you're married and want to start a family. It's a divine ritual that brings life into this world. It's not something you do for fun. How dare you care about your own pleasure, just looking to satisfy your flesh? It makes you less of character. Well, I beg to differ. Self-pleasure should not be shameful, okay? Sometimes it literally puts you in a better mood. It's like your cup of coffee in the morning. Instead of saying, don't talk to me until I've had my cup of coffee, you can say, don't talk to me until I've had 20 minutes uninterrupted in my bedroom alone. Being able to own your own pleasure, be in control of it, and form a deeper connection with yourself and your body is super beneficial for self-confidence and self-discovery. And that's why I'm happy to talk about today's sponsor, Lelo. Lelo toys are known for their luxury design, premium quality, and innovative tech, okay? They are loved by many, from your friends to influencers to celebrities to sexperts. For Lelo, it's not about trends or gimmicks, it's about providing freedom to elevate your own pleasure. The Sona is one of Lelo's best sellers, and now it's back and better than ever with the Sona 3, designed for an all-encompassing pleasure that does more than just touch the surface. If you know what I mean. First of all, the Sona 3 has 16 different intensity levels, all right? People are built differently, people like different things. Hell, it could even just depend on the day. I know that's true for me. Sometimes it's more of a slow and steady wins the race type vibe. Other times it's like, I have a meeting in 15 minutes, so this is gonna have to be a sprint, not a marathon. So having the different intensity levels to cater to your specific needs makes the Sona 3 very dependable and versatile. It's also designed to build the intensity gradually, so it creates a natural and smooth way for you to get exactly where you need to be. I personally love that it doesn't vibrate, but it pulses, which is a very distinct sensation. It utilizes sonic waves to provide clitoral stimulation without direct contact, which is really nice because, well, that area, like the humble poet, is quite sensitive. So being able to get stimulation without bombarding Miss Bean, well, that's amazing. I love that it has super soft silicone that is luxurious, comfortable, and soothing, and completely enhances the experience. And not to mention, I just think it looks cute, right? It's sleek, it's chic, it's almost like an accessory that I want to keep in my purse. Whenever I'm using it, I feel like I'm treating myself because, oh my god, I mean, just look at it. It looks like a beautiful seashell. Lelo also has an app that you can connect to your Sona 3, and you can access exclusive modes. Like, I have to read the names of it because I'm obsessed. Mode number 1, finish me off. High intensity mode. Out of control. A mode where you don't control the settings. Exciting. Or love bridge, where your partner controls the settings. If you've ever tried anything like this or you're looking to try, guys, Sona 3 is the one. So y'all are gonna wanna click the link in my description and use my code FAN20 to get your next favorite toy. And thank you to Lelo for sponsoring today's video. Anyways, back to keeping it casual. Hookup culture today would not exist without the sexual revolution of the 60s to 80s, which posed the then radical notion that women had sexual needs and desires just like men do. Hookup culture as an idea would not have been able to prosper without shifting our mindsets specifically towards how women engage in sex, right? Because for men, they always had a lot more leeway when it came to the whole sex thing, because it's just how they're programmed. Because women were socialized to feel ashamed of having those urges or to view physical intimacy as something to withhold in order to maintain their value, let's just say that women got really good at hiding the fact that they were horny. So much so that a lot of people didn't even believe that women got horny at all. So remember, if you see Bigfoot in the middle of the forest, just say hi, because it's probably not Bigfoot, but just a naked hairy man. A big naked hairy man. And it's, I guess if you don't want to say hi to a big naked hairy man in the forest, that's also valid. Thank you, Rachel. All right, Amanda, you're up next. Today I will be talking about the female sex drive. These presentations are supposed to be about mythological creatures. Yes. The female sex drive is not mythological or a creature. Well, I beg to differ. You can do that, but that doesn't change the reality. The female orgasm. If it's so real, how come I've never seen one? Have you seen one? As your professor, I'm not answering that. Even with Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, there is plausible evidence. Gifts under the tree, $1 under a pillow. But with the female orgasm, what evidence do we really have? A woman's word? Like that's worth anything. Okay, I am dismissing class early because I'm irritated, so. But the truth is, women were horny. And it's about damn time people knew about it. The sexual revolution was less of an abrupt flip of a switch and was more like a gradual shift that we started to see, and was expedited by the introduction of the pill. Initially, birth control was only allowed to be prescribed to married women in an attempt to reduce promiscuity. But then in 1972, unmarried women were able to have access to the pill, and its popularity grew. The sexual revolution for feminists meant a push for empowerment and autonomy. However, for a lot of people in America, it meant a threat to morality. For conservatives, being able to separate the act of sex from the act of procreation meant giving women more agency with their bodies, which is the worst thing that you can do. According to PBS.com, in a 1966 feature on the pill and morality, the magazine U.S. News and World Report asked, "Is the pill regarded as a license for promiscuity? Can its availability to all women of childbearing age lead to sexual anarchy?" The author Pearl Buck took an even more dire doomsday approach to the pill when she warned in a 1968 Reader's Digest article, "Everyone knows what the pill is. It's a small object, yet its potential effect on our society may be even more devastating than the nuclear bomb." More devastating than the nuclear bomb. I'm glad to see that people were taking the news very reasonably. The old school mindset of viewing sex only as a means to procreate is not only, heteronormative, but it takes away the fun and pleasurable aspects of the act and replaces it with almost pressure and duty. Of course, in general, the act of physical intimacy, even when it is just for fun, still has, certain layers of pressure added onto it for other reasons, which we will get to later. But when you're going into sex with a certain goal in mind, whether that be reaching your pinnacle or having a baby, if you don't get that outcome, you feel like you failed. If you only view sex as a way to get a baby and you don't end up getting pregnant, you might start associating sex with the feeling of failure, and you might start thinking about it as something to accomplish rather than something to enjoy. So being able to have sex without the intention of pregnancy looming over your shoulder like the Grim Reaper was a huge step into hookup culture as we see it today. It has turned into something that you can enjoy, and it's not just a task to be completed, on the to-do list of marriage. Now when young people engage in sex, depending who you are, there's always a risk of pregnancy, but it's not always an intention or even probable outcome because we have so many ways of avoiding that outcome. That's why it's called a pregnancy scare, right? not a pregnancy. Oh yeah, that was supposed to happen. You know, we've really gone from I am only having sex to have a baby to I'm having lots of sex, but if a baby comes out of this, oh, I'm gonna be pissed, right? For many women, right, a pregnancy scare is not only scary, it's terrifying. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the haunted house attraction.
Look no further. Have a seat.
Oh, this is the... Wait, what?
Look down. Whoa, what the fuck?
It's twins.
No.
And they will both grow up to be picky eaters, but in opposite ways. One will only eat chicken nuggets and french fries, and you will have to sneak in yellow carrots into their pile of french fries unsuccessfully, and the other will only eat caviar.
They will bring home math homework and ask you for help, but you will be just as confused as them, and with your guidance, they will go from a D to an F.
I want to say that wouldn't be true, but that's actually completely plausible.
They will both be boys to grow up and host an alpha male podcast together where
all of their guests are AI.
Stop! Make it stop!
You signed a waiver, so I'm going to keep going. Shifting from the sexual revolution of the 60s to 80s to third wave feminism in the 1990s to 2010s, we begin to more clearly see a lot of women, you know, taking ownership of their sex lives and their sexual preferences in a very overt way in response to, you know, the heavy restriction that women were feeling in decades prior. Now, there's lots of things that we've started to question or maybe even evolve past when it comes to third wave feminism. For example, lots of elements of choice feminism. And I'm not going to touch on that today because baby, that is for a whole other video. But I just want to talk about, you know, the cultural landscape during third wave feminism. For example, in this essay where third wave feminism and casual sex is discussed, they state, in addition to valuing openness and a range of sexual experimentation and practices, third wave feminists argue that they can reclaim and transform stereotypical femininity in sexual practices in defining themselves as sexual beings. The cultural and social weapons that have been identified, rightly so, in the second wave as instruments of oppression, women as sex objects, fascist fashion, pornographic materials, are no longer being exclusively wielded against women and are sometimes wielded by women. In a similar vein, Daly contends, we are at our most extraordinary when free to express our most complicated desires. We have the ability to transform practices developed in patriarchal cultures into turn-ons, sexing up what would have tied us down. So in third wave feminism, we start to see things like reclaiming of the word or at least reducing its meaning because we took the shame away from being promiscuous, right? Of course, that word can still be thrown around with a lot of malice by many men, and it still is today. But if you take away the power from the word, it's like, okay, yeah, you called me a slut, so I'm having sex, something that's fun. Oh, God forbid. It's sort of like, you know, you can scream at a giraffe with 1,000 waves of hatred. You are tall! You're tall! You know, and the giraffe is kind of just gonna be like, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. Am I supposed to be offended? And that word really just gets thrown around like it's subjective. You know what I mean? You can get called that word if you are wearing a skirt above the knee or smile at someone a little bit too long. You know, someone can have a body count of 2 people who were each like long-term partners, and that is still considered a slut to someone out there. Sometimes it's almost like, okay, is there a higher up I can talk to? Who here is in charge of the metrics, of the numbers? Because I think we need to start getting those in order. Not giving into patriarchal shame did do a lot to dismantle the double standards when it comes to casual sex. Now, that's not to say that the double standards between the genders still don't exist. They definitely do, trust me, especially when we're seeing this conservative swing back, specifically in young men. But third wave feminism got us to a place where more young people are more accepting about the idea of casual sex, and engaging in it doesn't make you inherently less than as a woman. By today's standards, waiting until marriage to have sex is seen as a little abnormal unless maybe you're very religious or something like that. A lot of people used to hold their virginities, women really, used to hold their virginities near and dear to their heart. And now they can't wait to get rid of them. When you are a teenager or young adult, your hormones are I almost feel like the hormones in my body when I was a teenager were almost shooting out of jacuzzi jets. I had multiple jacuzzi jets, within my different chakras, and they were all just pummeling hormones into my body. And that can make you feel like you want to have sex. At this point, there's different pieces of media that depict young women and their relationship with their sex lives, right? For example, the masterpiece of Bottoms from 2023, the whole storyline is about these loser lesbians who just finally want to get laid. We also have Blockers from 2018, where a group of female friends promise each other to lose their virginities on prom night, although to their parents' dismay. Lady Bird from 2017 depicts the loss of virginity in classic coming-of-age fashion. And the To-Do List from 2013 is all about the main female protagonist feeling pressured to become more sexually experienced before she goes into college in the fall, so she makes a bucket list of like sexual endeavors for her to complete so she doesn't feel like she's left behind. And then, I'm sorry, how could I forget about this one? It's literally in the name, The Sex Lives of College Girls. As a modern woman, losing your virginity doesn't always signify a loss, but rather a gain of experience. Okay, great. And then just tap whenever you're ready. I'm so sorry. I actually lost my V card. You what? Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost my V card. I left it at this random Tinder guy's house. Sorry. Sorry?
Bitch, we're celebrating!
Oh,
What's your name?
Becca?
Attention all customers, Becca has just lost her V-card at Register 7. I repeat, Becca, what's your middle and last name?
I don't feel comfortable sharing that.
Becca Marie Smith has just lost her V-card at Register 7. Since you are our 100th person to lose their V-card here, you get a gift basket!
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. I will put it to good use.
I believe you will. I believe.
Okay. Thanks. You know, maybe losing my V-card wasn't so bad after all.
Yeah. You are gonna want to call your bank though.
What? Now, if we're weighing out societal shame when it comes to sex, I would say that women are still more shamed for being promiscuous than they are for staying pure. However, for men, it might be the opposite. In this patriarchal society, men are conditioned to view sex and women's bodies as conquests, and the more of them that you're able to get, the more impressive you are as a man. So for a guy, being called a virgin as an insult can be a sensitive topic. You know, it's essentially a synonym for loser or lame. But as female sexuality began to find its way to the forefront of our culture, women aren't necessarily immune to this feeling either. I remember when I was in college, between me and a lot of my other female friends, there was this mindset of sort of, can I just get it over with already? I just want to do it already. And I'm sure that it's that way for a lot of guys too. And I don't really think that's the best way to go about it. And I get it, okay? Hooking up with someone for the first time can be scary. So there is this aspect of sort of just wanting to rip the Band-Aid off in a sense. Sex can be very vulnerable, okay? Being naked in front of someone is scary. There is an essence of, you know, performance anxiety that comes with it. Dali says sex sells at the seashore. Do you mind if we just do a fully clothed rehearsal run? A dressed rehearsal, if you will. Just to make sure that I'm understanding my objective. When people say cupping a breast, do they mean the Chinese tradition of cupping or something else? Foreplay. Okay, yes. I have never heard of that play before, unfortunately. Who wrote it? Please tell me it's not Shakespearean. I'm sorry, I'm just a little nervous. You know, I guess I just have to, imagine everyone in the crowd naked, right? I'm the only person here and I've been naked this whole time. Totally. You look great, by the way. Also, do you want to sit down? However, outside of wanting to just get it over with due to nerves, like it's some sort of exam or job interview, there's also the aspect of, I need to do this so that I have proof that I'm desirable. I need to attain concrete evidence that I am fuckable, or my hypothesis that I am disgusting and worthless shall ring true. Everyone is susceptible to needing external validation, especially when it comes to things like romance or sex. You know, if you have never received that type of attention from anybody before, it might feel like a blow to your self-esteem. Of course, you know, at times there may be distinctions between how men and women handle this punch to the ego. Women, they might write a Substack article. Men, they might join the alt-right pipeline, become a lot more active in incel Reddit threads, or buy a gun. Really, that's for a different video, but the point is that self-esteem can be fundamental to your well-being, right? So I think there is a pressure to have sex, not because it is, you know, inherently a noble or commendable act, but because it really just serves as a mutual confirmation between two people. Yes, we are both attractive enough to be intimate with. I can kiss you and not throw up in your mouth. Does that count for something? And hookup culture as we know it today makes that confirmation all the more accessible. So when it's so accessible and I saw this tweet the other day, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but there was this tweet where this guy tweeted, just graduated from college. I went all 4 years with no play. And then it was just like some stupid screenshot. Someone quote tweeted it and said, literally, how is that possible? And it had so many likes. So yeah, there is this air of accessibility because we've gotten rid of the shame, which it's overall a good thing to get rid of the shame. However, the shame may have just been replaced with expectation. There are certain insecurities that can arise when you're someone inexperienced, surrounded by hookup culture. You might have physical insecurities that make you feel worried about hooking up because obviously that is a thing where usually at least some clothes are coming off and, you know, ideally there is some touchy-feely stuff going on, but you might not want them. You might be like, don't squeeze me there, that's my arm flab, you know, that sort of thing. You know, when someone says, hey, can you give me head? And I say, I actually am, I'm insecure that I'm balding. I don't want you to see my head. You might have a fear of rejection that makes you resistant towards even being in a social situation where you could hook up with someone. Or, you know, a lot of people express that when they're out together with their friends. There might be a friend who's getting way more attention than you, and you're constantly feeling like you are, you know, like your chopped liver under a fly that's on the wall. And while I'm sure people have had these types of insecurities no matter the time period, living in an era of hookup culture that has normalized these sexual encounters, you know, it only exacerbates those insecurities for some. And I don't know, I think that for a lot of insecurities that may surface, it might be more worthwhile to really just attack them internally head on and not view, you know, attaining physical intimacy with someone as the cure for them, so to speak. Because if you heavily depend on other people's attention to presumably solidify your own self-worth, that's indicative that there's something going on inside that needs to be addressed, right? I've had to address it in the past. I think during a time when hookup culture is prevalent, it's important to just take a step back and ask yourself, why do I really want to engage in sex? If you want to hook up with someone because it's fun, it's natural, you like sex, it's a part of life that you would like to experience and enjoy, then totally. But if you are using it as a way to validate that you are deserving of love or affection, well, maybe we need to reevaluate, because it is simply just not a good metric to determine worth as a person. Oh, hi, welcome. Where am I? Heaven. Why are you putting it in quotation marks? Oh, it's just a legal thing. Okay. So before we let you in, there is a little bit of an application process, so I do just have to ask you a few questions. I thought you guys were supposed to be like all-knowing up here. Isn't that like your thing? Right. Well, that is a misconception, and we've been having a lot of layoffs, so things are really shitty around here lately. Shit. Okay, did you ever engage in hookup culture? What, like premarital sex? Yeah, sure. No. Okay, great, thank you, and denied! What? Yeah, you can go to the exit around the corner. Wait, hang on, okay, I thought that not having sex before marriage was like a huge prerequisite for this place. Right, that is just a ploy to test people because we only want the most dedicated, sexy fuckers up here. What? Should you even say that in a skit? It might be a little bit offensive. Yeah, well, we'll see. So let me just get this straight. You're judging my character based off of how many people I may or may not have hooked up with, and not by like
how many people I helped or something.
Okay, well, how many people did you help?
You
got me there. You got me there. And listen, I am saying this with peace and love and perhaps to offer a coping mechanism that might not be healthy. Ugh. But I think especially when we're thinking about heterosexual situations, women, it may be helpful to remember that sometimes men are not all that discerning, right? Cue that fake quote from Adriana Lima. And because some men navigate sex as a conquest or as something that doesn't go beyond their own pleasure, yeah, maybe you don't need to hold their approval or validation on a pedestal. It can really be on the floor, in the basement even. I mean, I'm sure if there is a lukewarm enough can of soup, a guy might put his dick in it. And that's not to say that he can't do that. That's his right. I love a curious mind, right? But it's sort of just like, okay, so if he's gonna put his ding dong in anything, if he puts it in me, what is that really indicative of? Maybe not much. And I've witnessed the way that men swipe on dating apps, and who knows, perhaps there's some women out there who swipe like this too, but they are swiping right on literally everyone as fast as possible, like they're on a fucking timer that's about to detonate if they don't reach a certain quota, okay? Like, Sean sent me a rose. Yeah, me and the rest of the county. And on the flip side, in regards to men, I think it's worth investigating, do I want to sleep with a bunch of women because I actually think it will give me personal growth and make me into a better man? Or will it just make me into a better bro who will get a lot of approval from other bros? If it makes you feel good to brag or boast or use misogynistic language when you're talking about your sexual encounters with your male friends, or if you feel bad because you can't add your personal experience into these conversations, maybe think about why that is. Do you genuinely feel like you're missing out on a fun life experience or means of connection? Or is it painful to not hold any social capital because this society uplifts men who treat women as disposable? And maybe it's both. If your male friends are the types of guys who reward other men for collecting women like sexual Funko Pops, or they're the types of guys who look down upon other men who don't participate in that culture, are those guys that you want to be surrounded by? I certainly wouldn't. Obviously, I'm not a man, but the types of men that I have in my life aren't the types of men who let female attention dictate who they are, right? I think a lot of the guys that I'm friends with, although, yeah, it's like a thing where it's nice to date, it's, it sucks to be rejected sometimes, they don't let that be a justification for mistreating women, and they also certainly recognize that they have qualities and talents and things that they like to do outside of romantic attention that is an additive to their personhood. Like, a lot of the guys that I'm friends with are really cool, talented people, and it has nothing to do with how many girls they get in the club. And listen, obviously it's natural to want the ability to woo a potential partner. I'm not saying that if you want to be good at flirting or sex that you're inherently insecure. No, I mean, I would like to think that I'm good at flirting. I'd like to think that. Is that the reality? Well, no. These are things that are a part of life and are exciting and fun to partake in, but I just don't think that it should be, considered something that is essential to your personhood. There are so many things outside of like romance and sex that can be fulfilling. Some of the happiest times that I had was when I was completely single and completely celibate, and I truly mean that. I don't know, in my head it's just like there's a lot more interesting things that you could be and passions that you can pursue other than being a Casanova. And listen, I acknowledge that it might be easier for me to say all of this as a woman who has had romantic and sexual experiences, but I do feel like there is this association between being able to pull and have a roster and being really suave and confident and sure of yourself. And sometimes that's not true. Sometimes you can be having a lot of sex and you're actually really insecure. I feel like it's somewhat common knowledge that sex can be used as a band-aid for a lot of problems. It's a distraction, right? Sometimes the emptiest I've ever felt is after I've had sex. Just because 1, 10, 20 people found you attractive enough to be with physically, that doesn't necessarily get rid of the source of your insecurity. And that's something that a lot of people have to learn the hard way. So this is my room.
Yeah, it fucking is.
Okay, I'm gonna open the door now.
Hi.
Sorry, it's messy as fuck, and it scared me, so just give me 1 second, please. Ow.
Why are you still here?
What?
Okay, there is a guy outside of this door right now, and he is sexy as I could attain within my means, okay? And he wants to sleep with me, so I just kind of thought that that would maybe make you go away or go on a hiatus or something.
Are we gonna have a threesome or something?
No!
Damn, okay. Something I've noticed about hookup culture is the way that people talk about their partners and the idea of someone being bad at S of the EX variety. I think a part of what makes hooking up with someone scary is the idea of compromising your ego, right? No one really wants to do that in general, let alone when you're naked. And I do feel like ego can come into play a little bit more because we're often using the language of good versus bad. And when you have this type of connection with someone, you know that afterwards they're probably going to talk about it with their friends, right? I know for me and my friends in college, we would describe our sexual experiences with such detail that we probably would have been able to do, you know, sort of Renaissance fair-esque historical reenactments of them. And of course, when that happens, no one wants to be the subject of a disappointing conversation. And I think sometimes when someone says that another person was bad at physical intimacy, what they really mean to say is that we were incompatible. That's neither good nor bad, right? That is, you know, this person is a puzzle piece and, you know, I'm a lithium battery. It's just, they're not supposed to go together. For example, they might say something like, oh my God, they were such a bad kisser, they used too much tongue or something. There's people who like that. For some people, that is A++, you know, come to the office and, I don't need to make it a teacher thing, but, you know, some people, they like being, they like feeling like a slab of frozen peanut butter and their partner is an enthusiastic Labrador lapping them up. It's not what I would prefer, but I'm sure there's someone out there. Honestly, I think the only thing that makes someone bad at physical intimacy is not being able to foster an environment of communication where you are communicating and you're being receptive to your partner. I don't think we can go into these things expecting our partner to know exactly what's going to feel good for us, and I don't think that we should presume what's going to feel good for the other person. When you're being intimate with someone, I think the best way to go about it is taking your ego out and flicking it against the wall until it splats like a fucking booger, right? You could also say something a little bit more plain, like leaving your ego at the door. And historically, this has been a problem that a lot of women have expressed when they're engaging in sex with their straight male partners. Sexual prowess is something that men are praised for, and when that prowess comes into question, especially in regards to a man who's been with a lot of women, according to my straight female comrades, there can be an essence of, you know, oh, there's this little trick that I do that always works. Or, you know, well, I've never had a complaint before. Which, first of all, yeah, I'm sure you haven't heard a complaint. The complaints aren't going directly to you, they're going to the council, aka the group chat. Second of all, if a girl expresses that something you're doing isn't feeling good and she would rather you do something else, that is not a personal attack, okay? You shouldn't take that negatively like it's a complaint. She is trying to guide you, okay? She wants you to get there. She wants you to win, baby, okay? Don't take that as a blow to your ego. It's just simply redirection.
Ah, young traveler, what brings you here? Who are you? I am the guide of this realm. Now, where is your destination? I am heading to conquer the spot of G, just down yonder. Ah, you actually just passed it, right back that-a-way. Bro, what the fuck? What? You think I'm stupid? Okay, I literally just came from Castle of Clitoria. All right, I know where I'm going. That is not where Castle Clitoria is. That is the Tower of Taint. I disagree. That is the truth. You can't disagree. Okay, I'm not gonna solve your riddle, troll. All right, so can you just let me pass? I'm not even giving you a riddle. I'm just telling you where it is. I want you to find it. It's a great destination.
With hookup culture, because a lot of people might associate it with it being super casual, nonchalant, there could be a lot of people involved, that means there has to be a lack of care. That's not true. Making an environment where communication is not only welcomed but encouraged is really important to have a good time, at least for me and for a lot of people, I would say. It's like, you don't want to throw a party and no one's talking. And I know a lot of people, especially women, might be afraid to communicate their preferences or redirect and things like that because, you know, when the ego is involved, it can cause a negative reaction. But I do think that a lot of men want to be good at sex. I don't think I understand that there's, you know, a lot of men who might only care about getting their own nut or whatever, like a fucking squirrel. But I also think a lot of men would prefer not to have, you know, 10 one-star Yelp reviews in a row. I think there are people who genuinely do care about, you know, your pleasure too. But if you're faking it or you're not being forthcoming, it's like they're not a mind reader, right? Obviously, yes, you know, at the end of the day, unfortunately, you can't control how the other person is going to react, but there's a way to communicate your wants and needs that makes it fun and sexy. You know, you're not trying to be a drill sergeant. Welcome to Drama Alert, your most trusted resource for fabrications, rumors, and invasions of privacy. This week we have a juicy one for you. It looks like someone had a steamy weekend. That's right, actress Amanda Wang, currently in the spotlight for all of the wrong reasons. Let's just say she took a page out of the Kardashian handbook. That's right. Now, of course, we're not going to show you the actual video. That's going to be on our Patreon. For right now, we're just gonna give you a little sneak peek at the audio.
Left, right, left, up, 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 down, up, north, south.
I'm sorry, I can't tell if you're having fun or not.
Pop it, twist it.
Wow. We actually can't publicize this audio. Yeah, no, it's definitely not pleasing to the ear. No, like, I think it would be illegal and in very poor taste. Oh, right. I honestly didn't think about that part. Another thing I want to talk about is how the phrase hooking up is pretty ambiguous. For example, some people consider making out to be hooking up. Other people consider hooking up to just be sex. Point blank, period. And I think for me, it's kind of like a squares and rectangles thing where, what is it? Every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. Like, every hookup, I would hope, entails making out, but not every makeout is a hookup. And, you know, there's people that I've made out with, not to get too personal, that I wouldn't say I hooked up with them because it's defamatory. Not towards either of us, but towards the term hooking up. You know, if we made out for 1 minute and 30 seconds at the gay club and you're going around telling people that we hooked up, well, I mean, your truth is not my reality. And because of the ambiguity of the phrase, you know, sometimes I've had a friend tell me and so-and-so hooked up. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna need an actual play-by-play because that could mean that you French kissed for 30 minutes or did missionary for 10. I'm sorry, Derek was involved in a hit and run? Is he okay? There were very severe injuries, but he wasn't the one who was hit. He was the one who was driving. Oh, thank God. Right, so what was your relationship to Mr. Hansen? Oh, we just met at this party and we hooked up. Make out
Full
session.
penetration.
What was that?
I'm sorry, could you clarify what you mean by hooking up?
Sure. Just like hand stuff.
Like hand puppets, rock, paper, scissors? We need to get more specific.
All right, well, first we went out into the patio and then he... But then we were getting seen in public, so then we were like, let's take it inside and then let's go... So yeah. Did you write any of that down?
No, did you?
No. All right, can you go ahead and repeat that for us? Okay, now the last thing that I want to talk about in regards to hookup culture is the music. Now, honestly, at this point for me right now in my life, having a dedicated sex playlist, for some reason, it does just seem a little bit juvenile to me. I don't know why. There's something about going through the process of having to name your sex playlist that I just don't want to have to go through that right now. Is that okay? I think that the name and the types of songs that people put onto that type of playlist can be very telling. Because my old playlist, I have to say, for some reason was reading as very virginal. Although I was using it for non-virginal activities. You know, how do I say this? It's like, yeah, maybe these songs are sexy in a sense. You know, they maybe seem like songs that would be played during a graphic scene in Riverdale. Is that the vibe we want? And for some reason, I'm having a vision, or perhaps it's just me being judgmental and making a judgment. I'm picturing someone who we would describe as normcore, right? And they have a playlist for physical intimacy, and it's full of types of songs that would be played during Love Island transition scenes. Does that make sense? Songs that are like, you know, like that one song, shut your mouth and roll me like a river. Man, I'm pretty sure the name of my playlist was literally just semicolon parentheses, like a winky face. Is that a creative choice that I still align myself with now? Not particularly. How do you name it something that isn't a little bit cringe? Right? You know, you can't get too clinical with it, because what do I look like having a beautiful woman over and then I click on my playlist and it just says fornication? But you also don't want to get too silly goofy with it where, you know, the title says something like, you know, bang bang shrimp, but if the shrimp was a girl. Or it's smashing time and then it's like a picture of the Hulk. And although making a dedicated playlist for physical intimacy isn't really something I want to do right now, I understand its importance. I really do. Because if you have ever been victim to the shuffle, you know how dangerous that territory can be. For example, one time I was with an ex intimately, and while I was with her, Heart Attack by Chew came on, and What Is Love by Twice. And when I say they came on, I mean start to finish, the whole song played. If you aren't familiar with those songs, I will play snippets right now. So yeah, there was a time that I hooked up with someone and the instrumental soundtrack to Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away came on. And while a auditory and visual masterpiece, probably could have been better appreciated in a different context. And now, at this point, we're just rambling. I have a confession to make, and I'm sorry if it upsets some people. I don't think that The Weeknd is good hooking up music. I know that that artist is known for making sexy music, but that's actually not what I want to be hearing during that time. You know why? Because it's a little bit too florals for spring. It's just too on the nose. Obviously, he's a very talented singer, and not every song is geared towards sex, but the ones that are, I've noticed lyrically, good God, we get it. The lyrics in these songs are just him describing exactly what he's doing. You know, it's like, and then I lay you down, and then you eggs, and they're wide, why don't you get on your knees? Invite your friends, and they're on their way. On Highway Interstate 96, they ring the doorbell like, okay, I want background music, not a narrator. I almost feel like listening to The Weeknd when you're hooking up with someone is like playing Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting at a Kung Fu match. Yeah, maybe this could be fun, and I'm probably just being a poor sport, but could we start thinking outside of the box a little bit? My box, your box. But yeah, overall, I do understand the importance of that particular type of playlist, because when you're being intimate with someone, vibe curation is important. So maybe they should make that a Grammy category. And the winner for Best Intercourse or Heavy Petting Soundtrack goes to 1 in the Stink, 2 in the Pink, 3 in the Heart by Rosetta Bone. Oh gosh, it's really sprinting up here. Thank you. Thank you so much. With every song I write since the beginning of my music journey, I've only had one thing in mind. I hope to do it one day. Come one, come all. Thank you and good night. So, well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. You know, hookup culture, like anything else in the world, has pros and cons, but I am glad that we have more sexual freedom than we did before. Let's just remember to monitor how we navigate it, right? Hey, if you want to be abstinent, totally cool. If you want to be out on the town, also totally cool. Just make sure you have a healthy relationship with physical intimacy and ensure that what you're engaging in is what's best for yourself, and also you're being considerate of your partner, right? Okay, yeah, wow. We talked about sex a lot today. But hey, that's what you came for, right? I've been told that it sells or whatnot. So anyways, that's all for today. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your morning, day, or night, and until next time.